Rassie Erasmus just revealed the most genius and controversial strategy in rugby history. The Springbok mastermind admitted he's willing to lose games in 2026. Quote, "We're willing to take a few shots and uppercuts." He literally said the Springboks will accept defeats this year to prepare for the 2027 World Cup. And it gets crazier. He said, quote, "We don't want to be punch drunk by December 2026. Translation, the nation's championship trophy is secondary. World ranking doesn't matter. All that matters is having the best possible squad ready for Australia in October 2027. This is long-term thinking that no other coach has the guts to admit publicly. Here's the context that makes this brilliant. The Springboks have 11 tests in 2026, 7 Nations Championship games plus 4 against the All Blacks. Most coaches would be obsessed with winning every single match, keeping that #1 ranking, lifting the Nations Championship trophy. But Rassie, he's thinking bigger. He's asking himself, do I want to win trophies in 2026, or do I want to win the 3rd consecutive World Cup in 2027? And he's chosen the World Cup. That's the mark of a genius. Let me explain what taking uppercuts actually means. Rassie is saying he'll experiment in 2026. He'll play uncapped players in big games. He'll rest veterans when other coaches wouldn't. He'll try new combinations even if it means losing. Why? Because he needs to know who can handle pressure before the World Cup. If a young player fails against England in July, that's valuable information. Better to find out now than in a World Cup knockout game. That's smart. And if you're not subscribed right now, you're missing Rassie's genius strategies like this every day. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to reveal about his rotation plan will blow your mind. Here's Rassie's exact quote about world ranking, and it's shocking. Quote, "World ranking isn't important this year. The #1 ranked team in the world just said rankings don't matter." Why? Because Rassie knows that being #1 in November 2026 means nothing if you're not ready for the World Cup. He'd rather be #3 with a squad that's been tested in every possible scenario than #1 with question marks. Now, let's talk about the punch drunk comment, because this is where it gets deep. In boxing, fighters who take too many punches become punch drunk, slow, damaged, can't perform. Rassie is saying the same applies to rugby. If the Springboks go all out in every single game in 2026, trying to win everything, they'll arrive at the World Cup exhausted, mentally and physically drained. But if they pace themselves, rotate players, accept some losses, they'll be fresh, hungry, ready. Here's the proof this strategy works. In 2025, Rassie averaged 9 changes per game. 9. Most coaches change 2 or 3. Rassie changed 9. He used over 50 different players throughout the year. And you know what happened? The Springboks went undefeated in Europe. 5 wins from 5. They dominated. So the experimentation works. Now he's doubling down in 2026. Let me break down the 11 tests and where Rassie will likely take uppercuts. July 4th, England at Ellis Park. This could be a game where he bloods 5 uncapped players, risks losing to give youngsters experience. July 11th, Scotland at Lofts, another experiment game. July 18th, Wales. Maybe he goes full strength here to build confidence. Then August and September bring 4 All Blacks tests. These are the real examinations. This is where Rassie finds out who's ready. If you're watching without subscribing, you're missing the biggest Springbok strategy breakdowns, thousands subscribed after videos like this. Hit subscribe right now. Here's the question Rassie asked himself. Quote, "Do we lift the Nations Championship or be ready for the World Cup? We'll have to make that decision." And he's already made it. World Cup, that's the priority. The Nations Championship is a nice trophy, but it's not a World Cup. Nobody remembers who won the Nations Championship. Everyone remembers World Cup winners, and Rassie is chasing history. 3 consecutive World Cups. Never been done. Now, let's compare this to other countries. England will go all out to win the nation's championship. New Zealand will try to win everything. France will chase every trophy. But the Springboks, they're playing chess while everyone else plays checkers. They're sacrificing short-term glory for long-term dominance. That takes courage. That takes a coach who's secure in his position. Rassie has a contract until 2031. He can afford to lose a few games in 2026. Here's what this means for fans. You might see the Springboks lose to England in July, lose to Ireland in November, and you need to understand it's part of the plan. Rassie isn't trying to win every game. He's trying to build the perfect squad. So when you see 5 uncapped players in the starting 15, don't panic. Trust the process. Trust Rassie. Let me tell you about the risks of this strategy. What if the experimentation backfires? What if the young players aren't ready? What if the Springboks lose 6 games in 2026 and confidence is destroyed? That's possible, but Rassie believes the risk is worth it, because arriving at the World Cup with questions is worse than arriving with answers, even if some answers are "this player isn't ready." Here's the genius part about timing. Rassie has 18 months from now until the World Cup. That's enough time to experiment, evaluate, and then lock in the best 23. If he experiments now, by mid-2027, he'll know exactly who his World Cup squad is. But if he waits, if he only starts experimenting in 2027, too late, not enough time. Before I reveal the craziest implication, hit subscribe. You do not want to miss what this means for individual players. Here's who benefits from this strategy. Young, uncapped players like Marcus Mueller, Kai Pratt, Riley Norton. They're getting chances they wouldn't get under other coaches. Veterans like Eben Exabet get rest, their bodies preserved for the World Cup. Fringe players get opportunities to prove themselves. This strategy creates competition at every position. Nobody's spot is safe. That keeps everyone hungry. Now, here's the ultimate goal. October 2027, World Cup in Australia. The Springboks run out for their first game. Every single player has been tested, some in victories, some in defeats, but all in pressure situations. They know the game plan. They know their roles. They're not hoping they're ready. They know they're ready. That's the difference between preparation and hope. So, let me recap Rassie's genius plan. He's willing to take uppercuts in 2026, accept losses to prepare for 2027, doesn't want to be punch drunk by December 2026, World Cup over Nations Championship, world ranking not important, will rotate heavily, use 50-plus players again, 11 tests to experiment, England, Scotland, Wales, 4 All Blacks, Italy, France and Ireland. Young players get chances, veterans get rest. By mid-2027, perfect squad identified. This is long-term thinking. This is genius. This is how you win 3 consecutive World Cups. Smash that like button, subscribe and turn on notifications because tomorrow's video reveals which specific games Rassie will sacrifice. Drop a comment if you trust Rassie's plan or think it's too risky. The Springboks are playing the long game while everyone else chases short-term glory. See you in the next one.